So that made me think about that again. And then, one last thing, I've had many moments like this thinking about afterlife and hell and what happens to people like myself, right? And it's not because I'm 60. This is not, actually probably is, but anyway. So, years ago, this was a big moment for me, and it went by very quickly. It took seconds, but it takes a couple minutes to talk about. I was in a taxi in San Francisco, and it was midday, and I was going to be dropped off at a church where I was speaking, sort of like this. And on the way, it was a lot of stop-and-go traffic, and I just saw people, just swarms of people on the streets of San Francisco, just one block after another. It was lunchtime. They were probably coming out to have lunch. The corporate offices were emptying, and just people. And I began thinking, just a thought popped into my head. I wonder how many of these people agree with me theologically. And my quick conclusion was not too darn many. So what does God think of them, right? And, my default mode, which I never liked, but it still seeps in, doesn't it? My default mode was there are basically two types of people. People like me and everybody else. People believe sort of like me or close to me, and then the rest of the world. And I looked at them and I said, what right do I have to look on these people like that? And I'm where I am because of my influences, and they are where they are because of their influences. There are people who hate God and frankly have very good reasons for that because of the experiences that they've had, right? So it's, am I on the right side of the ledger, again, because of my influences and because of my life? And what does God think of these people? And it really hit me that moment, and again, it's hard to recreate an existential crisis, but I was sitting there thinking, I may just be really, really wrong about God. Mind you, as I'm going to a church to talk about God for a week, and they get paid for it. So, I hope the check clears after this is over. So, but it's just, these things, I didn't ask for any of that, right? It just happened. Something happened repeatedly that made me just sort of stop and think about, what do I really believe about God? And then allowing that to change, which is to say to honor the experiences that I've had, not to close them off. How many of you have been told, not in this church, I know, but elsewhere, don't trust your experiences, they're bad? A lot of you, right? Yeah. I just want to say, we are our experiences. Even the most theologically rigid people in the world who tell you not to trust your experiences, their theology is a subjective experience of reality. You can't escape that, right? So our experiences do something for us. They push us to rethink what God is like because we never quite have a handle on God. And that process of rethinking, I think, is a process of wrestling with God, with wrestling with faith. And it's very normal.